Hello and welcome back to the Chris Taylor podcast. As you already know, this podcast is all about current Dodger Chris Taylor. What we know about him is his name is Chris Taylor. He's number 3. He likes to wear a hat. He wears a black glove, and sometimes he looks a little fruity on the field. Other than that, I really don't know a single thing about the guy. Based on the bobblehead, he's standing on dirt, so I guess he's not in the outfield. I don't see a line anywhere, so I don't know. Maybe he's a shortstop. That's kind of my guess. But also, he's reaching. If you for the video watchers, he is reaching to catch this pretty high, like he's falling back for it, the way an outfielder would catch something. So once again, just trying to get this Chris Taylor podcast up and running, and I don't know much about Chris Taylor. So if there's any Dodger fans that are out there that could enlighten me a little more on who he is and what he does, it would probably make the podcast a lot better, because we're at episode 44 of the Chris Taylor podcast, and we don't have a huge amount to say about the guy. We're not really sure if he even still is a Dodger. I assume he is, because I got this bobblehead for free, cha-ching, at a Dodgers game, I would say less than 2 months ago. So if he's no longer a Dodger, then hopefully this bobblehead has spiked in value. There's something, I don't know, when I was a kid, a bobblehead was so cool. And I remember ordering a Paul Pierce bobblehead online. And I am from Los Angeles, but I played for the Celtics at my local park league. So I liked Paul Pierce. And they were good back then. It was like 2007 or 8, you know what I mean? Those were some good times for the Celtics. But I remember it came and I almost cherished it like it was a trophy. And, it wasn't easy to acquire. But now you go to a baseball game and this is the same material the Paul Pierce one was made out of. I think the Paul Pierce one was maybe a little nicer, but honestly pretty much the same quality. And they gave it to me for free, just for coming to the game. Now, I guess the ticket price pays for the bobblehead, but still, to have something that as a child you would cherish so much, and then you just get it for free as an adult, you're like, are these just shitty? I think as an adult I should know that bobbleheads are not fancy. I know they're not fancy, but I didn't think that they were things that you would just throw at 25,000 people walking into a baseball stadium. I didn't know that that's how it worked. And it's a little bummer to find out that that's how it worked. But I mean, it is, and that's something that I just kind of have to deal with at this point. So, moving forward from that is going to be tough. But the problem is I still want to respect bobbleheads. You know what I mean? I want to give them their due. But honestly, with Dodger Stadium just giving them away like hotcakes, it's kind of hard to. You kind of start to think, well, what is so important about these motherfuckers? I don't know. I do have a haircut. It is about an hour and a half old. That's why it doesn't look great. If you know anything about white men's haircuts, you know that it takes a little bit. Foliage needs to grow in. Things need to look natural. It is sort of the opposite lifestyle of a black dude's haircut. Black dude walks out of the barbershop. It's the best his hair is going to look. It is the freshest. It's the cleanest. All the lines are the tightest they're going to be. And then over the course of a week, things change. And you go back to the barbershop. And that's a more fun. Then you got something to do weekly to bi-weekly. And that seems great. With white guys, you come out of the shop and you're like, I am fucked up. I am so fucked up right now. And it's the most embarrassing thing, because you look like you got a haircut. And everybody gets haircuts, but something about it, it just makes you feel like everyone in the world becomes your aunt on prom day. You get your haircut and everybody's like, hey, look at you, mister. Okay. How about that, Because unless you're like a white dude that wants to always have really tight, clean, gelled hair, the first day of your haircut is not going to be great. If you're like me, you put a little product in it, but you kind of want it to just have kind of a natural lift and kind of look like, whoa, did he even put effort into that? I put so much effort into it, but you need that to kind of grow into itself. Today, things are too tight. Like, my hair is disjointed, the sides is obviously much shorter than the top, and we can't sort of sell the illusion of overall poof yet, because it hasn't all grown in. So it's going to be a process. I'm hoping by next week you guys will see some progress. And if not, definitely just stop listening to the podcast. There's much better ones with guys with much cooler hair. But at the end of the day, I think the reason you listen to this podcast is because I'm giving you the truth, okay? I'm telling you, first day of a haircut, I'm feeling vulnerable. We're stepping into dark, unknown waters. We're scared. We're just trying to, keep our head above water. That's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to get through this fucked up life that we are forced to live on a day-to-day basis, and we have to get haircuts. And, it sucks that you have to live life every day, because a lot of days you don't want to live life, but life doesn't stop, so then that day is a wasted day, and you try and rationalize it by saying it was a mental health day or blah, 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 but we all know that if you take 365 days out of the year for mental health, then you are not healthy. You're fucked. The only people that take 365 days out of the year for mental health are people that are in mental hospitals, And maybe you got to take a few as a normal person to not end up in the hospital. But man, does it suck. I don't know how to relax. And I think it's because I don't know how to work hard, and I don't think that you are able to enjoy relaxing until you have worked hard enough for that relaxation to be warranted. Like, my mom has been a hairstylist her whole life, and now she's moved into driving for the studios, and she's always, had to work to fit her lifestyle and stuff. And so when she relaxes, the way, and she's been a mother, she raised 2 boys. So the way a mother relaxes, I don't think anyone can ever reach. Like, nobody can enjoy a blanket as much as a good, hardworking mother can. A shitty mom just sits under a Pink Panther blanket all day and smokes parliaments laying down. And she doesn't even enjoy it. But a good mom at like 7:30 is like, ooh, I'm gonna make popcorn and I'm gonna watch a movie and gonna get under a blanket, and that's something we all envy. When I was I'm really trying not to steal a bit from my good friend and former podcast co-host Dylan Sullivan. When we were in a cabin during the pandemic for about 2 months, that was a bit that he would do all the time, is pretend to be a mother, and he would get under a blanket and go, oh gosh, I'm just so cozy under this blanket. And it was one of the funniest things anybody's ever done, to be frank. And you could write a whole movie around him doing that character. Just dress him up in a wig, and it would win Oscars. But what's funny about that bit is that me and him, I guess, I can't know for sure, but had similar moms enough that bit made sense to both of us. We both had moms that did a really wonderful job as being a mom, and the spoils of their toils is a blanket. And I guess if you wanted to be pessimistic, there's almost something sad about it, that it's like all they have is a blanket and a glass of Crystal Light and maybe like a flattened pretzel. You know those, like the pretzel chips where you take a pretzel and you flattened it, and then maybe you put like everything bagel seasoning on it, and then you toast it so it's like a flat pretzel chip. That, a Crystal Light, and a blanket that is like a little like furry almost, or a little cozy. And then under that, watching a show that, you don't even care that much about, because every 6 months a mom has a new show that she's excited about. Me and him both understand that concept, because we had good moms. We had good, and I think this goes across all races, okay? I think every mom of that caliber, that is how they relax. Maybe they voice it in different ways, but at the end of the day, a good mom ends up under a blanket. If the job is done, a mom will be blanketed by 7:30 to 8. That's a fact, okay? And they don't want to watch anything on TV that's too violent or stressful or anything like that, because they've just raised 2 boys the whole day. They don't want to see any more fighting. They've had enough. They don't want to see a gun because there's tons of fake guns laying around the house that they did buy for them and are not totally happy about how the boys are using them. But, listen, you get a couple toy guns. You got a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old. Sooner or later, somebody is going to pretend to be Osama bin Laden, and you as a good mother have to laugh that off. Because if you get really mad and you make a big deal out of it, then you're going to radicalize your boys. As a parent, you have to have a hands-off approach to terrorism. Because otherwise, they're going to go, what's the one thing mom hated? Boko Haram. Next thing you know, Matthew from Sherman Oaks is in Africa. And he's pissed, And so that's something you have to be aware of, It's listen, in the new world, it's not cowboys and Indians anymore, okay? It is civilians and terrorist groups. And I know there's a lot happening in the world right now. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as a whole. You pick whoever you want, okay? You pick whoever you want. It could be Mujahideen, could be Al-Qaeda, which of course, same. Could be ISIS, also kind of same. It's almost like terrorism is sort of connected through a history of context. But it can be anybody. Even the IRA, which, honestly, if I had to pick a favorite terrorist group, might be the IRA. I'm a little biased. You caught me. But I do like what they do and what they were fighting for. Maybe I don't like everything they do. I don't know enough about the IRA, but, I know they invented that nice drink that Americans like to drink, an Irish car bomb. A lot of people don't know they invented the Irish car bomb, but they also invented the drink known as the Irish car bomb because they thought, what is going to get people more on our side? And it's the obvious answer, which is food and drink. My advice to Hamas or ISIS or Boko Haram or anybody that is currently a group that some would consider a terrorist group, some would not. That's up to you. I haven't made my decisions yet. But if you're part of a group that's getting a lot of guff, mostly from white Western culture, what you want to do is get into the food and drink market, okay? Now, a lot of these groups are from countries with a long history of culture and, of course, food. And so there's things to draw from. I think the members of ISIS could look at a jalapeno popper and say, what does this lack in what we would want? And maybe it's just saffron. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, if Chili's has a special with the word Hamas in it, narratives could change. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's Friday. Come get the Hamas queso. And I'm not going to say hummus because that's too easy, okay? You have to think outside of the box, okay? Hot and fiery queso, and then, the IDF loves to promote their image on social media. A big part of what the IDF loves to do is show really hot Jewish babes, which is a common thing. America does that too. A lot of countries, I think even kind of North Korea likes to do that. They want to be really hot. They want to be sexy. I had, girls from my cross-country team, they were cute, and they joined the IDF. This is not a joke. That's a real thing. A lot of kids in the San Fernando Valley are Jewish and have maybe some family in Israel or Israeli blood, or none at all. They're just white American Jews that obviously have a connection to Israel. And they will go over and they will fight for the IDF. Also, part of it is because that's the only way to get your Israeli citizenship. So, it's back and forth. But yeah, I remember there's a girl on my cross country team. She joined the IDF, and she was there for about a couple weeks before she posted a picture of her in full IDF uniform, holding an M16. Making a bit of a duck face, trying to accentuate features, And it's very funny to imagine that there was like an IDF commander being like, hey, Becky, throw some stuff on the grid, show some people what we're working with over here. Is that my advice to Hamas? No, because the market is already cornered. That being said, the hijabi mommies could help out the fight. I don't know. That's not up to me. I shouldn't be commenting on this at all. But I'm speaking more from a PR perspective than I am a political perspective. But let's just say we don't want to go the route of being hot. And I'm talking just to Hamas now. If you're not in Hamas, I don't know if the next couple minutes of ideas are really going to be for you. But, I'm thinking, okay, so if Israel has the hot part, kind of, if that's their thing, we don't want to copycat. So why don't we get into food and drink, hospitality, things like that? What if Hamas, and not just Hamas, but the entire state of Palestine, had more of a Guy Fieri thing going on? What if when we see these pictures in the news of murdered civilians, they had bleached tips, stuff like that? You know what I mean? Do I think it would help? No, but then again, the American public is surprisingly simple. You think you would have to do more to change our ways of thinking about stuff, and you don't. And so maybe, I don't know if there's really an official uniform for Palestinian fighters and Hamas, but maybe it could be a short sleeve button up with some flames coming up on it. That being said, I think that would be not really interpreted as a Guy Fieri thing. I think flames are probably, maybe more of a Tommy Bahama vibe. You know what I mean? Maybe a beach thing. Maybe try and associate Hamas with Jimmy Buffett's philosophy of salt life, because nobody's done that. A lot of groups, especially groups like Hamas or the Taliban or ISIS, which are groups of people who come from very disturbed countries. And I mean disturbed by outside forces, usually American or Western European forces. They're people that, in my mind, have a lot of times been really sort of backed into a corner, and then violence will erupt from that. To put it as completely as simple and sort of summarized as I can. A lot of people might disagree with that thought. But my point is, a lot of terrorist groups stem, almost similar to gangs in America, they stem from sort of a hopelessness, not a lot of money, not a lot of support from governments, whether they are national or international. My point being, those groups are usually pretty serious. I'd say that. I'd say you see a lot more smiling pictures from the IDF because, they're backed by the biggest powers in the world, and Palestine is not. And not only are they not backed, they're kind of, having to now fight them. So there's not a lot of goofing and gabbing going on that side. My question is, how do we add a smile to the situation? And the answer is a ventriloquism, which is why I would like to announce that I am going to be on tour all up and down Palestine and the Gaza Strip, doing my act. I got Lenny the Sailor. He's got a wicked tongue, I'll say that. And I also got just Susan Sarandon. That's a dummy that I have, that a lot of ventriloquists will have dummies that are fake people. Actually, pretty much exclusively, pretty much every single ventriloquist ever, none of their dummies are based off of real people, ever. I'm trying to sort of break the form and get into sort of ventriloquist impressions. You say, what if Susan Sarandon did this? I bet it would sound a little something like this, except I say I bet it would sound and look like a little something like this. I bring out a tiny Susan Sarandon doll, and, I talk about movies and TV and the lap of luxury. So, do I think that would really help people around the world, especially with what's going on over there? I don't know. But I do know that tickets go on sale soon on a website that's pretty hard to find because I don't think our federal government would allow me to sell those tickets. And also just a message to the CIA agent that is assigned to watch this podcast. This is all just goofing and gabbing. Also, very funny to assign a CIA agent this early when nobody's listening. But obviously, the rhetoric has been too satirical to where nobody's really sure if I am or am not involved with certain groups around the world. I'll tell you one thing. Me and the Yakuza are done. I cut ties, okay? I cut ties. And frankly, it's because I thought it would be more of a, kind of a men's excellence club, something that was going to push us to be better. And what I found was a lot of debauchery. I found a lot of overeating, over-drinking, unstable emotions, people not really checking each other when they should have been checked. And I found that overall, my time in the Yakuza did not bring me joy, because I am a big fan of Marie Kondo and the minimalist lifestyle, and bring things into your life that bring you joy. And I think of that not only physically now, but also spiritually, metaphorically. Up in the ether. Is this something that makes me happy, that brings me joy, that makes me a better Cooper? And honestly, I noticed that being in the Yakuza and committing a litany of crimes against the civilians of Japan did not make me feel good. So at the moment, I am a member of the Triad, and we're trying that out. I've found that Chinese organized crime is a little bit different, a little less flashy. And, we go to the YMCA every, 3 times a week. And we work out. And that's more what I wanted. You know what I mean? We're in the locker room and we're wringing up towels and slapping it, and it's the camaraderie and the friendship that I was looking for in the Yakuza, but I just didn't find. So yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the Triad right now, and I guess we'll see how that's going. And don't worry, I already talked to them, and they said it's totally fine if I talk about anything we do on the podcast, which is good because I don't have a lot of things to talk about on the podcast every week, and being part of a overseas Chinese organized crime syndicate is definitely a lot of fodder for podcast. And they get it too. They're not old head. My problem with the Yakuza is that they were so obsessed with you got to get in with all the clubs, and you got to get a TV credit, and you got to get on JFL, and a lot of stuff that's still good that I still want to do, but I also know are no longer sort of golden tickets to a career and to success. That's just sadly not how it works anymore. And whether or not I want that to be the way it works, it's just not. So I'm trying to move with the times. I'm trying to do the pod. I'm trying to make clips. I'm trying to be a healthy member of the Triad. And, so far it's going how it's going. And, maybe that's all I need. Maybe that's all I need. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, should I really be in any organized crime syndicate if I want to be a well-known stand-up comedian? Joke's on me, probably not. That being said, it's life is what you make it. And you are where you are. So, I don't know. It is what it is. But, things are going fine with me. I'm still sleeping with a diaper a lot of nights because I am taking a suppository nightly to get rid of an internal hemorrhoid. And I'll tell you what is a great part of it is different farts. I think the getting rid of the internal hemorrhoid has changed the shape of my instrument, if you know what I mean. Changed the trumpet horn a little bit so it plays a little bit of a different tune. And that is honestly a lot of fun for me. I wake up and I fart, no joke, probably about 15 times in the span of 10 to 15 minutes before I get out of bed. And they sound like a whole new hole. And that's a lot of fun for me. And since I'm wearing a diaper, I really just let it rip. I don't worry about shitting myself, because if I do, it's in a diaper and the bathroom is right there. That being said, if I did shit myself, I wouldn't be like, oh, this is fine. Oh, this is totally okay. Oh, no, this is cool. I don't think that's how I'd react. But you don't understand. Because if you're a guy like me, where shit has come out of your body in every form under the sun. I mean, liquid, gas, solid, plasma, flame, just every type under the sun. You don't trust anything anymore. You don't really trust any fart you have. Nothing's simple anymore. It's not like when you were a kid and you just lift up your leg and fart through some cargo shorts. Those days are gone. You drink too much whiskey, and you might shit yourself. But the only freedom I have now is laying in bed at about 10 to noon, which is too late to be in bed, even from the beginning. The only freedom I have now is laying in bed at that time and just letting off the most disgusting, heinous, awful farts that a guy can let off. And knowing that everything's going to be okay. Knowing that the worst it can possibly get is shitting into a diaper. I still have that iron dome that is protecting me, that is protecting my bed from myself. And maybe that's what I want, you know what I mean? I don't need to be a completely free man. I don't need to be completely off a leash. Maybe I want a little safety net sometimes. Okay? Everybody thinks it's so fun to be crazy. No rules, no safety, no helmets. I feel like I'm able to have a lot more fun doing some extreme BMX if I have a helmet on, because I know that if I fuck up, I will not hurt my head. And that's what my diaper do for me. You know what I mean? Okay? And, a lot of guys listening to this are saying, why would he admit that when he goes home at night, he puts on a diaper? Because everybody else in your life is lying to you. Your girlfriend lies to you. Your mom lies to you. Your friends lie to you. You come here for honesty, okay? Am I going to spend about 25 minutes doing various satirical, yet still offensive to many bits about a current, awful, violent conflict that is occurring and has been occurring for close to 100 years? Sure. But after that, are we going to get into me talking about my asshole once again? Yes. A lot of people would say that is maybe the worst podcast that they could possibly listen to. And if that is your thoughts, fuck you. You're an idiot. You're ugly. Nobody likes you. And your body is sad. Okay? This podcast is for guys with great bodies who like eating a couple hot Cheetos before they're about to get railed. You know what I mean? That's what people want to hear about, okay? And that's the people that are listening to this. That's, the Jocko Willnicks, the David Goggins, the Joe Rogans. That's who listens to this podcast. Men that go, yes, do vaguely offensive political satire and then talk about how your asshole's weird. Do it, okay? Make it happen. Because who's going to carry the boats? Huh? Is it going to be the fucking guy from New England who flew here before COVID and then got stranded here and started a podcast where he talks about how fucking crazy Waffle House is? I don't think so, okay? That's not what people want. That's not America. That's not what I need to hear about. I know Waffle House is weird. You don't know how my asshole's doing, okay? So, you can go to your big podcasts that are good, or you can stay right here with queso that is not that great, but is made from scratch, okay? Pick your poison, all right? Either way, I'll be here telling the truth the whole time, okay? Not a lot of guys will do it. And, listen, a lot of guys turn off viewers by being somebody like Alex Jones, like a bit of a conspiracy theorist or, a bit overzealous, a bit too much about very serious things and taking those things too seriously sometimes. A lot of times that'll drive people away, that'll put them in a corner, but it'll also find them a very loyal fan base. The thing with me is I will shock you just as much as any sort of radical, whether it's left or right, political commentator. But we're not talking about the issues. We're talking about my butthole, which is my conflict, which is something that I can speak on, okay? Does it make sense for me as a white, baptized Catholic American boy from California to talk about the Israel-Palestine conflict seriously with my real opinions on it out into the world? No, not at all. But my butthole is a different story. It's always been a different story. It's always been something different than what people expect, okay? And that's my truth, okay? And, I make a lot of Instagram posts with a black background and Times New Roman lettering where I say I've been gathering my thoughts and I have been thinking about this for quite a while, and I think the internal hemorrhoid's gone. I do a lot of that because I'm trying to be honest. It's an interesting thing. I mean, a lot of people shit on people always posting on Instagram about these things when, maybe they aren't too connected to it. And I think it's really hard to be right in this situation. I think you're only right to a certain group of people, and you might be very wrong to a larger swath of other people. Who knows? So, I think the American response is always very showy, especially from people who are neither Palestinian nor Israeli or Jewish or Muslim or anything. I think it becomes very showy of people like me who are posting. And it's kind of sort of an American egoism that makes it about themselves. Whatever. It's so common now, it's not even worth shitting on. I wrote a joke about it. The joke was written 1,000,000 times 25 years ago. I did see somebody do something that I did think was funny, which was post about it twice. And they were, not somebody that really, I don't think had any family on either side, or I'm not even sure if they were Jewish. I think they definitely were not Muslim. It was a white guy. But I just saw some post where he goes, I'm posting again about my thoughts on it. And I'm like, again? What happened with the first one? Because either answer is not great. Either the first one went so bad and people were upset with you and you felt that you needed to say something again, which at that point you just got to take the L and move away. Or a sort of darker thing, which is that you did the first post about the conflict and people liked it a lot. And your response was to not go, oh, thank you for reading my thoughts and appreciating them. Your response was, okay, well, maybe we keep this content going. I hope that is not what happened. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. People think what they want to think. But, I don't know. I've talked about it on the podcast. I don't publicly actually comment on a lot of stuff like that, whether it's this or whether it's something else, is because whenever I do talk to people about it, I learn way too much to think that I know anything. You know what I mean? Like, if you talk to somebody about this conflict or any other conflict and you learn something new every single time, you're wildly uneducated on the subject, and that should just make you aware. You know what I mean? everybody I talk to about this, they go, well, I mean, because in 1998 they did that. And I'm like, oh, is that just something people know? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, huh. All right, I guess I'll hold off from plastering my opinion around the world. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people that just don't. You know what I mean? There's also a lot of people that really want everybody to say something, which I think is interesting. I can understand people being like, you should send money to this or that side, or you should send money to the UN or whatever. I can understand people saying, like, if you have something to give it. I always just think it's interesting when, like, some young person is like, everybody should be commenting on this. And it's like, well, how does that help? You want all of us to say something? You want me? I don't think you want me. I'm pretty dumb. I think everybody should be educating themselves on the issue because it probably affects them, more than they realize in some way or another. I think it's good if people are... Sorry, I'm yawning. If people are having conversation... You know what? I'm fucking yawning. Why the fuck am I talking about this? I have only been to a Waffle House once, and I loved it. And I liked it because the coffee comes out at the perfect temperature. And I've tried to tell so many people about this, and nobody really cares. I remember I was telling my friend Jesse that, and I was like, yeah, we went to Waffle House, and the coffee came out at the perfect temperature. Jesse Johnson, the third mic on Bad Friends, very successful. I was talking to her about it, and she said, well, yeah, a lot of places do that. And man, she's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. But man, does it suck so much when you tell somebody something that you thought was unique, whether it's good or bad, and they go, yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, that's tough. That's tough to hear. You feel like a fucking idiot. You feel like an idiot, especially when it's something that you like, Like you go to a restaurant, you're like, hey, they got cinnamon-flavored toothpicks at this place on the way out. It's kind of a nice way to end the meal. And then they go, oh, yeah, I know like 5 places that do that. And you're like, oh, okay, so I'm a fucking idiot that only goes to shitty restaurants. And then I went to this one restaurant and it changed my life, but it shouldn't have because I'm stupid and everybody else knows this already. That sucks. The other part that sucks is when something terrible happens and then you talk to somebody about that and they're like, oh, yeah. That happens all the time. And that's sort of the hard part of growing up. Like maybe you're younger and your parents are watching the news and then you kind of accidentally hear something that's like, a man was gunned down in a liquor store robbery today in Hacienda Heights. And then you're like 7 and you're like, oh my God, that's terrible. This must be like the biggest news ever. Are we going to like leave our house right now to go solve it? Or like, are we going to do something about this? Or you're waiting for your parents to be like, holy shit, this is insane. Because when you're young, you don't realize, especially if you live in LA, this is really just a big city thing, so I'm alienating everybody in a small city. But you live in LA, you don't realize that people die, people get like murdered probably like once a week at least. Some places once a day, some places more than once a day. But when you're young, you don't realize that unless you're in front of the violence. But if you're like a kid from the suburbs like me, that does live in a large metropolitan area, but you're in the suburb part of it, so you're safe. You don't know that this happens. So when it's on the news, you're like, whoa, somebody murdered somebody else? Is the entire city going to like take a day of mourning, or is the mayor going to talk about this? And your parents are like, no, actually, this is like the least exciting thing on the news tonight, actually. This is like kind of just them trying to fill time for the rest of the news is all you're seeing right here. No. This happens, and then you really feel stupid. That's when you think something's special and it's not, and that's the worst is when it's something like murder. And figuring out that so many people get murdered every single day is crazy. I would really like to know the number of murders worldwide per day, because that's crazy to think that. I think it has to be true that every day at least one person gets murdered across the world. That's insane. And then, of course, if there's a time of war, it's about... But I'm talking more about, like, Jeff kills Tom. I'm thinking more about, like personal stuff. or a serial killer, just person to person, not fighting for anybody else except yourself and your own sociopathic instincts. That's crazy to me that every single day somebody kills somebody either because they want to kill somebody or because they're part of like a gang or something, and now they get in a shootout and then somebody dies. But it's just, I mean, it's insane the amount of people, and we still have so many people. You know, like there's still so many fucking people in the world. Some people are even concerned about how many people there are in the world. But, you know, still, every day somebody's killing another person. It'd be crazy if we had one day where nobody killed anybody in the entire world. And I'd love to know if that has happened in the last 50 years. Like in the last 50 years, has there been one day where nobody's killed anyone in a war, nobody's killed anybody for gang violence, nobody's killed anybody because it's their wife and they hate them, nobody's, you know, killed anybody because it's their fucking neighbor and they hate them, nobody's killed anybody as a serial killer? If just one day where nobody killed another person. And it's funny because I'm sure anybody listening to this is like, no, I don't think so. In the last 50 years, no. Because the last 50 years seem like there's been a lot of wars and a lot of violence. And then you think about the 50 years before that, and you're like, I think there's been a lot of wars and a lot of violence, and it was easier to kill people. And then you think about the 50 years before that, and you're like, there was still a lot of wars. There was even sort of different rules on killing a guy. And then as you go farther and farther back into it, it's like, fuck, wait. The world has never been safe. Like, maybe in caveman times, there was a day where nobody killed each other. But to be honest, there was tons of incentive to kill another guy back then, even when they were cavemen, because it was like, that guy's got the meat. Nowadays, Arby's makes entire commercials where they tell the entire world, we have the meats. If you were a caveman and you broadcasted that you had the meats, you were a dead man. So that's something nice to think about, that we've come far enough in our society, in our world, that now you can proclaim openly that you have the meats without the fear of death. And, you know, the next time you feel sad about stuff, that's a nice thing to think about. You know what I mean? Nobody's bursting into Arby's with a club that starts out real skinny but then gets like that wide and it's kind of rough. Nobody bursts in there in a loincloth in a club like that trying to bash people over the head for the meats. And do I think factory farming is good? No. But, you know, it gets us the meat, so that's something to think about. I don't know if the mic is picked up. I feel like the mic definitely did pick this up. The neighbors next to me. Okay, they're doing a thing that they do this. I think it's a dad and his kids. There's no way you're not hearing this, so I'm sorry if it's annoying. I think it's a dad and his kids. And it sounds like he's like tickling his kids or joking with them, or he has times throughout the day where he jokes with them. The thing is, they don't sound like real people. It sounds like a cartoon would sound. It sounds like... I mean, did you hear that? Did you hear it? I really hope you're... And it's not a TV show, because if it was a TV show, then everybody in the TV show would only make sounds. But it sort of sounds like a sound like that, like a Pokemon would make before like turning into a ball of speed and running around, but it would also laugh while it's doing that. Yeah, it just sounds like tickling. I don't know. It's honestly the loudest it's ever been today. I'm probably going to close my bathroom door. Maybe that'll help. But I think they got a window open. I swear to God, these motherfuckers are having some of the most joyous tickle fights in the world. And it never bothers me at all. I'm never annoyed by it because it's never at late hours. I'm sure I annoy them way more when I come home from work and make a pasta dinner at 4 a.m. But I'm so curious about it. It's almost becoming annoying. I just don't know what that is. Because you know what it is? It sounds so muffled. I know it is through a wall, but it also sounds more muffled to where it sounds like it's coming out of an old TV. And there's like a lot of echo to it. Like it doesn't sound like a person's voice is really able to have that much sort of something behind it. You know, it sounds like it's coming out of a speaker with like a little blur and background noises, and but it's not, because it's not constant speaking, and a lot of it is not speaking. So I know it's not a television show, but I think about it all the time, and I hope they're hearing this, and I hope they come over with an explanation. I hope they knock on the door right now, interrupt the podcast, and say, hey, we heard you talking about it. Also, we listen to the podcast weekly. Great stuff. But yeah, we'd like to show you what we do. And then they just tickle each other and go, wahoo! Because it's a lot of that. It's a lot of like, yeah, wahoo! It's a lot of that. And I don't know what the fuck it is. I think it's literally the happiest family I've ever heard. And if there aren't kids in there, I'm pissed. If that's just two adults just fucking whammo, then that now it's not endearing and it pisses me off, and I'd like them to stop. But I don't know. We got a little off course, but honestly, maybe we got onto the right course, which is family. You got to stay in touch with the fam. I have a good family. My brother right now is off the coast of, I think, Washington, on a fish processing boat where the other fishermen come and drop off their fish and onto the boat. They just banged into the wall. I think they're having like Naruto battles over there. I think, oh no, shower's on. Wait, then what is everybody laughing about? The shower's on. All right. I don't understand it. I'm going to have to close that door because I think there's no way this is not getting insanely annoying to listen to. Give me 2 seconds. And I'm not cutting it either, okay? I'm not cutting that fucking part. All I did was get up and close the door. I don't think I need to go into the fucking editing bay to make it easier for you, fucker. God, I don't know. I think it's a great father that comes home from work and then just has the wildest tickle battles anybody has ever seen. It's interesting to hear that, because those are the glory days. I mean, I hope trying to make my life great, and I hope I have a wonderful life. I hope I don't have a life that I look back on childhood and go, that was the best time ever. That would make me very sad, and that's not the goal. But it is good to think back about getting thrown. Little boys and girls, everybody of a certain age, it's like 3 to 7, you just get tossed. You ask people, just throw me. You're by a pool, fucking launch me. Okay? Master bed, huge. I got a fucking, a king now? I got a king-size bed. A king-size bed when you're 5 is like the Sahara Desert. It is like the most vast swath of land you have ever set your eyes upon. It's like an empire that if your dad told you one day this bed will be yours when you're 5, you would lose your shit. And then you get older and you realize, I don't want my fucking parents' bed. I don't want fucking mom juice on my mattress. Gross. But whatever. But man, if you grew up and you didn't have your father or your mother fucking wrestle you on a bed, and it's not even wrestling. All it is they're on their knees kind of walking around slowly like a Godzilla monster, and you're small enough that you're standing, and you're in like a shirt that's either your favorite cartoon character, or it says something like, I need chocolate milk, and then you're wearing like some sort of baby athletic shorts. You're standing, and they're moving around slowly, and you don't understand, so you're just sprinting at them, which on a king bed, it feels like you got 100 meters to run. Really, you're taking like 4 steps, and your point is sort of to defeat them, but every time they just wrap you up, and then you get spun around, like you don't even know, like he's just like, dads will just treat you like a basketball. Like they'll just grab the kid, grab his rib, just fucking behind the back, throw him, catch him like a fucking pizza, and then just fucking toss you. And that is what you fucking live for. And now, there's nobody in the world big enough to fucking throw me around like that. And if you were to ask a guy to do it, he's gonna fuck you, you know? And I fuck guys, but, you know, there's no way to do it non-sexually as an adult. And that's really too bad. Like, if I hired a guy that was like 8 feet tall, 500 pounds, to really try and get the proportions right, to just, and then get like the size of Shaq's bed, like take 4 queens and then put them all into one, get that, throw me, it still wouldn't be as fun. And I think the thing is you're not lightweight anymore. When you're lightweight, man, the world rocks. And I'm talking about like, you're rocking 60 pounds soaked. That's a fun world to live in, because you're just bopping. You're tiny. You're here. You're there. You're quick. You're speedy. Then you get older, and to be speedy now requires power and training, and now there's effort that gotta go into stuff. I mean, I just told you to even get close to getting tossed on the bed like that, I have to create the largest bed in the world. I have to find the largest man in the world. And even myself probably would have to drop a couple lbs before he can really spin me around, because it's just, you're not tiny anymore, you know? You're short, skinny, perfect age to be thrown, you know? And now you don't get thrown anymore. You got to go on a trampoline, you know? Or you got to get, I don't know, fucked in the ass by some guy, which is great, but it's not, it's a different type of fun. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of thing. It's not innocent anymore. You have a cock in your ass, and it's a guy, and you don't know his name, and he doesn't know your name, and you both know that because you both know you never asked, and there's a certain sort of respect you have for each other in the situation that you don't really need the name. And almost by asking the name would be to sort of break the trust that you have, this weird, casual, stranger kind of trust that's, hey, we're not close, but let's feel close within that closeness. You know, there's something about, it's almost like a lot of gay sex sometimes, not all, but casual gay sex is almost like the movie Reservoir Dogs, where it's like, no, don't tell me your name. I'll call you blonde guy, okay? I don't want to know your name. Because if I know your name, that's when things get complicated, and I actually trust you more not knowing your name and you not knowing mine. This thing of ours, okay? That's a lot like a lot of gay sex. It's this thing of ours, okay? You know the deal, I know the deal. Don't fuck me, but fuck me, you know what I mean? That's what it is. That's how, you know, that's love for a lot of people. I don't know. It's not love for a lot of people. I've had sex like that. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's fine. There's something, I feel bad, you know? I feel like when you're young, it should be able to not have the foresight to know it's a bit of a waste of time. You know, is casual sex a waste of time? I think yes. But do you sort of have to waste the time to know it is? Yeah. So in that way, it is a waste of time, but it's a waste of time that sort of teaches you something. So there's a real back and forth when it comes to, is this, should you do that, you know? And I think sometimes, you know, you have to live life to have done, you know, you got to live life. So I don't know. It's like I'm 24 and I feel like I'm already kind of winding down. Not in a bad way, but I feel like I'm already aware that I need to either stop drinking or kind of stop drinking altogether. I know that, you know, I enjoy being in a committed relationship a lot more than I do being single and having casual sex. I know that cocaine feels great, but I really shouldn't do it ever, you know? And it's like at 24, I guess it makes sense that those realizations are coming. But I also feel like I never really got to go for it enough, which is funny because I don't want to at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't feel like I've partied a crazy amount in my life, but I do feel like the small amount that I have has given me all the lessons I need to no longer do it anymore. And I'm like, I wish I was a little dumber almost. You know what I mean? But also I don't, is I want the life that I want to build. It's just, it's interesting. You know, I think I think too much. You know, I think there's a lot of guys that can really live a crazy life for a while because they're able to kind of shut off their head. And I'm not saying I'm smart. I'm just saying I think too much. I overthink in a very dumb way. But You know what it feels like? It feels like I played in the minor leagues. By the time I got to the majors, my knees hurt, and I just wanted to open a bar and grill called Soups. That's all I wanted. And that's what I want now, and I think I'm going to taper drinking and drug use and all that stuff and just live a calmer life, because it's one of those things that, it might not be every day as new and exciting, but I also think every day being new and exciting kind of sucks dick. And there's honestly nothing better than coming home to somebody that you love and doing things that you love and doing new fun things with them, but not waking up at 3 p.m. after going to sleep at 6 a.m. fucking coked out and you can't even fucking breathe and everything in your body's dried out. That's the wild stuff. And I only did that a couple times before. I was like, this sucks. And it was great, but this sucks. There's no way to build a self-esteem or a sense of self or a sense of efficacy with that kind of life. So I think life is a lot of people either never trying it and good on them, or people trying it and going, this is who I am, and kind of never really doing anything but being distracted by the amount of things they are doing, which is nothing. It's just partying, but, you kind of think you have an active life, and then there's people sort of like me who are going, all right, well, we know the decision that has to be made to not be a fucking idiot. It's just sort of dependent on when you are going to make it, And right now, it's like, well, I still like drinking a little bit. I'd like to have a few more beers, and it's kind of like, all right, but you know what I mean? Like, watch the clock here. You've noticed your metabolism slowed down, so let's not act like if you kind of just let go of the brakes that you're not going to end up going a little faster than your brakes are able to slow you down, and then, maybe you'll cruise at 40 when you would have preferred 30, and now, you're a little fatter than you wanted to be, stuff like that. And that sucks. I think that's honestly like the worst part and the best part of getting older is when you make the decision to kind of get your shit together. Because my shit is not out of whack. I still got a place to live. I got a job. The career is, it's going fine. But everything could be better if I truly had my shit together. If I had a sleeping schedule, an eating schedule. If I knew and acted upon the right decisions. I know the right decisions to make. I don't act upon them, Oh, I shouldn't drink tonight, but I'm going to have a cup. If I just stopped doing that, I would move so much faster and have so much more things than I do now. But then there's the extent to which, like, well, I'm not really, maybe you're not able to yet, And that's really disappointing is when you're like, I think I would like to just be a sober guy and just enjoy being sober. And then you try it and you go, I fucking hate this. What the fuck? And then you realize it's never going to get easier than it is right now. It's only going to get harder if you continue down the way you're going. So you go, fuck. So it's just going to suck, and I'm just deciding if it's going to suck now or later. And everyone around you is like, yeah, totally. Of course. That's all this is. But if you do it now, you can kind of enjoy it more. It'll be your thing for longer. And you don't have to be 40 picking up the pieces at 45. You know what I mean? It's like this, if you just get into taking care of yourself now, by the time you're maybe even 30, maybe just 6 years from now, you will actually know how to enjoy living a healthy life. But the first couple of years, you're not going to know how to enjoy living a healthy life. You're just going to keep thinking, I should just go do all those fucked up things that were fun. And that's why it's hard for people to quit, is you go, well, how do you have fun? And it's like, I think you have to be sober and healthy long enough to focus on your mental health and grow gratitude and just appreciation for things that go, oh, now that I've lived healthy enough, long enough, I can enjoy eating a salad on a porch and realizing how much that gives you. And this whole world that is right in front of your eyes really opens up, But you gotta kind of tell Maker's Mark that you're not as good friends anymore, and that sucks because they've been there the whole time. They've been a good guy. You liked them, So, if anybody is familiar with that concept, either if they're before, during, or after it, leave a comment on the YouTube video or email me at coopersalone@gmail.com. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. We never do because there's not enough, and nobody ever really talks besides Rashid in the comments. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I love you all so much. Bye-bye.